Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight. We're going to start another one of our fabulous cocktails and conversations sessions with the Association of Wedding Professionals DC chapter. Tonight, I am joined with David. He is the founder, owner of eWed Insurance. This is actually something very interesting to me personally. I asked him to join us and get a little education to our membership, and I think you'll be very surprised to see where this is all going to go. So, David, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you.
We do these every day in a week. We have like a whole week of cocktails and conversations. And so tonight is Thursday. We'll have one more tomorrow. So everybody make sure you tune in. We also have people that are watching live. So as you want to type in questions to our Facebook page, I'll be able to see those and I'll make sure to address those with you, David, and we'll be able to kind of interact with the people that are watching us tonight. So we're going to start off with a little toast. David and I are kind of lame. We've got water, but we should have
well,
martinis.
We're not supposed to toast water. It's bad luck.
Oh, that's right. So we won't toast water, but I'm going to fake
just say
toast
cheers.
Everyone else that's watching. Cheers. So again, thank you, David, for coming in. Why don't you start off? Please tell us a little bit about yourself and then how you got into or created eWed Insurance.
Okay, happy to. Thank you for having me, first of all, and thank you to everyone out there watching. So I got into wedding planning around 27 years ago, and I was a wedding planner for 27 years, and I loved the business, and it was just something that was new. It was interesting. I had a finance degree. I have a law degree, and I said, you know what? I don't want to use either one of those. I'm going to do event planning. It turns out I used both of them the whole way through, just didn't really realize how I was using them. And a couple years back, I got introduced to the concept of wedding insurance. And I said, wow, you know what? That is a really interesting concept. There are so many brides and grooms out there, or wedding couples out there that are spending, as much money as you spend on a car, maybe not as much as a house, and they're not insuring one of the biggest expenditures to date in their life. And I said, that just doesn't make any sense. So I looked at the companies that are out there, and there's about a half a dozen companies offering wedding insurance, but they're not wedding planners. They didn't come from a wedding planning background. They came from an insurance background, and their policies were designed around insurance. They weren't designed around the practical realities of planning a wedding. So I said, you know what? It's amazing what you don't know when you start something out. I said, I can do a better job. I spent the next 2 years, looking for the right insurance company and designing the right policy for our wedding couples. And the culmination of all of that was eWed. It launched a little over 2 years ago, and we've had tremendous success in the market and been very well received.
Excellent, excellent. So tell us a little bit about, I was actually still just today trying to understand the difference between wedding insurance versus a liability insurance that a vendor would want to have. Can you kind of elaborate?
Certainly. That's, I think probably one of the number one questions I have is still people say, what is wedding insurance? And wedding insurance falls into two categories. The first is liability insurance. Liability insurance can protect the wedding couple against any damage or injury that they're legally responsible for. Most venues these days are requiring liability insurance because they realize that the wedding couple's coming on their property. They're bringing a couple, 100, 200 guests on their property, and things can go wrong and things do go wrong. And rather than have to chase after the couple or be left without insurance if something happens, they require insurance from the bride and groom. eWed offers liability insurance for $119 for $1 million policy, so it's very affordable. And it can also protect the couple if someone leaves the wedding drunk and gets into a car accident and they get sued. Even if they had nothing to do with serving the alcohol, it's going to cost them $25,000 in legal fees to prove they had nothing to do with it. And the liability insurance can kick in there.
Oh, I didn't even think about it that way. That's so true, because the venue actually says that they hold themselves harmless of that. They waive liability. So if anybody's going to get held responsible, it would probably end up being the person that hosted the event.
Correct. And even if they're not responsible, you still need an attorney to go into court and say, hey, my client is not responsible. Right. And they don't do that pro bono. They don't do that for free.
Yeah.
The other side of the coin is cancellation insurance, which goes a couple of names: cancellation and postponement insurance, or loss of deposit. And what that does is that can reimburse the couple for money that they've paid to a vendor or a venue if something goes wrong. If there's an accident, an illness, an injury, a fire, a flood, severe weather, things like that, and they have to cancel or postpone their wedding, it can reimburse them for lost deposits. Or if there's an issue with a particular vendor, let's say a photographer goes out of business, or your caterer's kitchen floods and the caterer's kitchen burns down, and you're stuck without a caterer, you're going to potentially lose those deposits. And not only that, you're going to have to hire another caterer at the last minute who's going to probably charge a rush charge. Insurance can not only reimburse you for the lost deposit to the original caterer, they can help pay for that additional expense for the rush charge for the new caterer. So there's literally hundreds of thousands of examples of where it can be very beneficial.
Yeah, I mean, it's making more sense as you describe it completely. So my next question would be, why in this climate is insurance necessary? And now even with COVID and all of these other reasons, that's even more apparent. So I have to apologize to you and to my viewers. When I started this, there was nobody in here, and now
The room was
huge,
quiet.
loud group just walked in. Can you hear me? Or is,
we can hear you and all your friends.
Okay, just to make this interactive for everybody on Facebook, we're going to move. I'm going to move really quickly, and it's not going to be that awkward. So,
okay, well, post your next question, and I'll answer it while you're moving.
So my next question is, how do you feel now that you're sharing all of this information with people? You're kind of educating them as to your knowledge. How do you feel? Is that rewarding for you, or have you had any experiences where you realize how valuable you are, and you've kind of changed somebody's life?
Got it. It has been very rewarding. I have gained a wealth of knowledge over the last 27 plus years in the wedding industry. And now I have, the ability to share it both with wedding vendors, wedding venues, and wedding couples when they talk. And it's interesting, because quite often I'm talking to a couple or talking to a venue, and they ask me the basic questions that they called about. But then, being in the business, we just start to talk about ancillary things that are related to it. And they say, oh, I didn't know about that, or I didn't think about that. And I can really give some useful advice. One of the things that I tell people now, especially post-COVID, is read your contract. Read your contract with your vendor,
Right.
Read your contract with your venue, because there's important information in there. And, I talk to a lot of venues, and they're like, should I require insurance? And they don't quite understand the benefits of insurance. They say, well, I already have my own insurance. But, we all know that if you're a venue or a vendor and you have to make a claim on your insurance, the next bill you get is going to be higher than the one you got before that. And having someone like eWed stand in between you, it could avoid you from having to make an insurance claim. And there's another benefit for venues that I tell them, and they find it very beneficial. I say, if you require insurance, when you go to renew your insurance, you can use the fact that you require it to try to negotiate a lower rate on your venue insurance.
Oh, interesting. That is a good point.
That's the reaction I get.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I'm a venue manager. I've been doing this for 15 years, and I've seen both sides of it. In fact, as a wedding planner, I had to buy a day of policy as a vendor to get into a venue. It was down in Charlottesville, but it was it was called Dover Hall Estate. This was maybe like a $40 million castle estate. I didn't even know these things existed in the United States. And everyone that walked in the door had to have a policy, but it was because one chip on the marble floor costs like $100,000 or something. So the bride ended up buying policies for her vendors to make it easier to get vendors, but she had to buy a policy for herself. And so this is the first time I was ever introduced to that, but I think all venues should require it. If it's only $119, it's not like you're imposing anything on your client. It's only good things come of it. So yeah, it's very interesting.
I mean, we've seen that. And also, what I've seen on the planning side is a lot of planners are starting to say, if you sign up with me, I include a free $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 policy. It's only a couple $100, and the planner builds it into their pricing, and it's a very beneficial add-on marketing tool for the wedding couple to say, oh, I get free wedding insurance when I have it because the planner provides it for me. And the other side to that that works out really nice is if there is a loss, if there's an accident or injury, and as a planner or a florist, you're legally allowed to keep the deposit per your contract, you can be perceived as profiting off of something bad that happened to the wedding couple. With wedding
Oh,
insurance, you don't have that problem because the wedding couple gets paid back, and you, as a wedding professional, you get to keep the deposit for that weekend that otherwise you would not be working and not making any money.
interesting. Because I think that a lot of our contracts are written that we do get to keep the deposit, whatever happens to you,
But the
kind of thing.
contracts don't say bride and groom, you can't post a negative review
Some of the contracts do actually. We're starting to write that in
then.
because,
Good
yeah.
luck in enforcing that.
Well, and so that's another selling point for you. That's another target that we should highlight. That's so important. Okay, so how about the clients that say, I don't need to pay for full wedding insurance because I'm just doing a little micro wedding, or I'm just doing an elopement, or I'm just doing the ceremony? How does this still cover them?
Well, it still covers in when COVID hit, we looked at this and we said, you know what, a lot of people are doing micro weddings. The smallest policy we used to offer was a $10,000 policy. And we said, you know what, a number of people are doing micro weddings for 50 people. And we launched a new policy level, which is at $5,000, and said it's for if you're only having 50 or fewer people and you're having an inexpensive wedding, you don't have to pay for a $10,000 policy. You can pay for a $5,000 policy, and
Okay.
it's $75.
Yeah. I mean, you pay more than that for your day of liquor license.
Exactly. You do.
You do. Okay. Well, yeah. So this is interesting. How do you promote this? How do we educate all of the wedding couples out there that are getting ready to plan their wedding? How
Well,
have you been promoting this?
this is a prime example. I promote it by talking to other professionals in the industry, going on Facebook Live, Instagram Live, different webinars. I've been written about by a number of publications, from the New York Times to InStyle to Harper's Bazaar to Real Simple to Yahoo Finance. I've been covered on
Nice.
all of those different publications. And it's a matter of getting the word out. The way I promote it more than anything is being in the wedding industry for 20 plus years, I have a tremendous amount of contacts that are wedding professionals and wedding venues, and I do a direct reach out to all of the people I know in the industry, letting them know what I'm offering now and letting them know about eWed, and that's worked really well. And the other side of it is word of mouth. People are now
Yeah.
starting to say, well, who'd you use for wedding insurance? Do you know eWed? Have you heard of eWed? I can't tell you, how many people come to me and say, my bridesmaid, or I was a bridesmaid in a wedding, and the bride told me about you, or I heard about you, from the New York Times, I read about you in one of the articles. So it's, very organic more than anything. I do advertise on Google with, paid AdWords and all of that, but most of it is organic word of mouth and having directly talking to wedding professionals and wedding venues.
If any of our viewers that are watching want to kind of chime in, suggestions or ideas or questions about the clients that you've worked with, and how could this have helped, or how do you think this will help for anything in the future? Because we want to make sure that we're addressing your questions too. I'm super curious about this, so I'm just going to keep asking questions.
Go ahead.
But that's because I take it from the venue side and I'm taking it from the planner side. So I've seen all of this, and I know that it's applicable. Um, so I've never found anybody quite like you. I didn't know that this was a thing, wedding insurance, until I met you. But do other insurance companies offer wedding insurance?
Yeah, there's probably about a half a dozen insurance companies out there that are selling wedding insurance right now. But that was, one of the motivation factors for me to get into this. They're insurance companies. I'm a wedding planner. I happen to
Yeah.
be selling wedding insurance now, but I designed my insurance to be to fit around real life weddings. I know that when people go into a venue on Saturday, they might be setting up on Friday and the insurance needs to cover the Friday setup. I know
Yeah.
that weddings aren't only one day. Quite often there's a rehearsal dinner on Friday, there's a farewell brunch on Sunday, and you need all of those different events covered. I understand that, sometimes you have the ceremony at one location and the reception at another location, and you need the insurance to cover all of that. I designed the insurance so one cancellation, one liability policy will take care of all of that. You don't have to buy multiple policies to cover the different events or the setup time or the breakdown time.
So because you can streamline the process. You know what they need and
Well,
you can tell them, look, I know what you need before you know you need it. So that's the best part.
correct. I get a lot of those questions. Another example is if you go to the website, it's simple, it's clean, the interface is nice, it's not cluttered. There's a lot of information there, but it's only what you need. I
Sure.
remember when I was first starting out, I looked at the other companies and I looked at their applications. Most of their applications had between 45 and 67 questions to be answered by the wedding couple to get insurance. Probably took a good 30 minutes to fill out the application. My
Yeah.
application has 10 questions and takes 3 minutes. And I said, you know what?
Nice.
I'm not an insurance person. I don't need to ask these questions. And a lot of it was negotiating, going back to the insurance company saying, I want to get rid of all these questions that you normally ask. They're not
Right.
relevant. And they, after a little prodding, they said yes.
No, I'm just thinking in my head, I'm like, gosh, there's so many times that this could have been applicable and helpful in the past that I wish I had known or been promoting this prior.
So,
What advice would you give to anyone desiring to create their own educational arm of their brand? So what I'm thinking is you came up with this. You were already in the industry. You saw a demand and a need for something and you created it. We all right now, I hate the word pivot, but we're all kind of pivoting. We're kind of changing,
no, I
but
have an
we're
event
also
production company too. I understand. You
okay.
pivot.
But just trying to figure out how your skill can still be valuable. And one of those is that we have experience that we can share and we can keep other people from making the same mistakes. If it's a photographer trying to tell everybody that there's better ways you can pose people, or if it's a caterer saying that there's better ways that you can serve tapas style. If someone, our members are very entrepreneurial.
Mhm.
So if somebody wanted to start their own educational brand like you did, how could you give them a little bit of advice to get started, or
Okay.
what did you struggle with?
Well, I think, the best advice I could have is you have to do what you're passionate about. Do what interests you, do what excites you, and then share it with others. The internet is a wonderful thing today, in that the time and effort it takes to put a blog up there is next to nothing. You
Right.
can do a little newsletter that you don't even have to do a blog, and it doesn't have to be on a daily basis, on a monthly basis, on a quarterly basis. Email your friends, your other wedding professionals, people that you've met in the industry, and say, hey, these are some things I learned over the last month or 3 months, and they were very beneficial to me. You'll be surprised that if you speak from the heart and you speak with passion, how many things you can, I guess, enlighten other people with
Yeah.
or teach to other people. Don't think about it as teaching, think about it as sharing. you
Sharing.
know
Yeah.
share your knowledge. It's what I just said to you earlier. It's, for a venue, you can use the fact that you require insurance to try to negotiate a lower rate on your business insurance policy.
Yeah, we should repeat
That's
that for our viewers because that was a big deal. My clubs right now don't require insurance, but I bet if I went to the general manager and was like, do you know, we'd get a little discount maybe if we were showing that we were doing these extra steps and being extra precautious. Any businessman is going to say, I like that idea. So
right. That's
um,
2 and 2 equals 4 there.
we have quite a few venue owners that are in our
Mhm.
membership. So that's a good point for them, definitely. Um, so I think also what you're saying is if you already make yourself an educational tool, people will know, they'll start remembering in their brain that, oh, this person is a good resource. I should open their emails. They always send something valuable. And
Correct.
then after you have a good following, you can start charging.
Well, you could start charging, but I mean, just think about it as building your brand as a wedding
Right.
professional. You want other people to think about you and refer you. And people think and refer people they know and they trust and they think that are competent and capable. And a
Mm,
lot of people think, oh, I have nothing to share. And they don't realize the wealth of knowledge that they do
yeah,
have to share because they take for granted that everyone knows what they know. And that's just simply not the fact 99% of the time. You think about it. If you've been a wedding planner for 10 years, did you know everything you know 10 years in that you knew 2 years in? Of course not. But there's
right.
a lot of wedding planners that have only been wedding planners for 2 years.
True. True. And I've found that the ones that have been doing it for 15 years are starting to get really burnt out.
This was not this color when I started.
Yeah. We have a couple of really good questions, and one of them actually, this is a good point. So I have, a lot of us have weddings now that did an elopement or something small during COVID, and then they're going to do a big thing later on. So how do you cover weddings that are hosted on different days? Like the elopement is on May of 2021, but then the reception will be May of 22.
That has happened a ton over the last year, and our insurance company has been very accommodating with that, understanding that they had a small ceremony, but the big reception is 9 months later or a year later, or still to be determined. And you have to ask the wedding insurance company or the wedding agency specifically for permission. But every time we've been asked to separate the wedding ceremony from the wedding reception by a number of months, we've been able to grant that without any charge.
Okay. That's
The-
nice.
one of the key things to remember is if you have any changes to your wedding insurance, it's not essential, but you really should ask before the date happens. If you were supposed to get married, April 1st of 2021, and you're delaying into September, don't wait until June to ask. Try to ask beforehand. We've
Sure.
been accommodating people that ask after the fact, but I don't know that all insurance companies are doing that.
No, it's a very good point. That's a very good point. Um, so how may our community contact you? Because I actually think that now that we've said this, quite a few people would want to start working with you. I'm thinking me and some other wedding planners that I'm gonna really tell my clients, like, I can offer this. Maybe I do it in a package. Maybe I say my 1 tier package is just a base package. My upper tier package comes with these enhancements and your own wedding insurance. So, first of all, how we'll put up, I think Nicole is going to put up on our view how we can contact you. So I'm going to encourage everybody to reach out and talk to David and see if he can, customize or at least talk about how you could do this with your
Yeah,
business. But
I'm happy to talk about it. The easiest things, look, you can reach me through the website, ewedinsurance.com. And to what you said, the advice I really have for everyone is talk to your wedding couples about insurance. Say, hey, I need to tell you, I advise you to get cancellation insurance. As the venue, you're going to require the insurance. But have a conversation with them. Say, you know what? Things do go wrong. Things that are unexpected do happen. Unfortunately, COVID is no longer covered by any insurance company, but other things do go wrong. And have that conversation and highly encourage your wedding couples to buy insurance. It could really be the day saver.
absolutely. Well, and also I tell you as a venue manager that we've changed all of our force majeures now so that it doesn't say if just COVID starts, if government mandates change again, that you get to just have all of your money back. It clearly states that we operate under the mandates that we have. So let's say that this crazy variant flares up and now we have to cancel or change dates for all of these weddings that people thought were going to be fine for the fall of 2021 and things like that. I mean, as a venue, my contract very strictly says we keep your deposit. If there's another flare up, if there's another pandemic, you've been through it once now, you kind of know it's happening. That's a risk you take. We're keeping the deposit. If Governor Northam or whoever says now we're going back to 10 people in a ballroom, so
Right.
that's even more to tell the client. You're not going to be able to just call and be like, oh, COVID, we didn't know, you have to let me off the hook.
Yeah,
You
that
will
doesn't
have
work
to.
any longer.
Yeah. So if the mandates change, I mean, Mexico right now is going crazy. So it could flux at any moment. If you have insurance, your wedding insurance, you don't have to be like, oh my God, this is all a risk. All of these deposits are a risk. It's 50-50 chance I'm actually going to be able to execute. It just takes the weight off.
And there's a yes and a no to that. Just like every contract is changing their force majeure clause, and it's funny, wedding couples now know what a force majeure clause means.
Yes, they do.
But a year and a half ago, you would have said force majeure, and they would have looked at you like you're speaking some foreign language. But you're right. Every venue and every vendor has rewritten their contracts to basically put the burden of loss on the wedding couple and shift it and said, look, if a force majeure event happens, we will postpone to another date. Or some of them just say, sorry, go forward on that date or you lose your deposit. And that's really unfortunate. But the wedding professionals have to do it to protect themselves. Insurance won't help them in that situation, unfortunately. There is a COVID exclusion for our policy and every policy. So, it's what's considered a known circumstance. The analogy is your neighbor's house is on fire. You run out to buy some fire insurance. It doesn't work that way. And, I really wish it would, but insurance companies would be out of business if they tried to cover that.
Okay. So that's actually a really good point that I'm glad we're clarifying. So if they have wedding insurance and they put a $5,000 deposit on my country club for 100-person wedding, and then by September, we have now gone into another shutdown, or the mandates say that you can only have 20 people, my club is going to tell them, well, you can either have your wedding for 20 people or you can cancel, but we're still charging you the same amount.
Got it. Just out of curiosity, do you let them postpone? I mean,
yeah, of course.
Pick another date.
Option is pick a different date. If you pick a different date, then everything stays the same. The deposit rolls over. But if you just want to cancel, then you can cancel, but we're keeping all the money. So how would the eWed
not
insurance?
Insured.
That's not insured. So if
there's
another
no insurance
COVID breakout, then and we have mandates, then even your insurance isn't going to help.
Yeah, there's no insurance in the world that I'm aware of that's covered it. But I've got two examples to that that were really interesting. We had a couple last year, and the woman called me up and said, I want to buy insurance, and does it cover COVID? I said, no, I'm sorry, it doesn't cover COVID. She said, you know what? It's not that expensive. I'll buy it anyway. Her fiance
so many other things.
Yeah, her fiance got into a bike accident 3 days before the wedding, broke his ankle. He's fine, but on the day of the wedding, he's laying in a hospital bed with a bunch of pins in his ankle. They had to postpone the wedding. They lost all of their deposits, and we were able to cover them. The other side to that is look at all the forest fires that happened out west this summer.
Oh, yeah.
If there's a forest fire and the roads are closed and no one can get to the venue, that's not excluded. Something like that would be covered. If there's a mudslide, if there's a severe storm that prevents people from getting to the venue and the guests and the bride and the groom can't get to the venue, those things are covered. So there's not a blanket exclusion on insurance for force majeure. There's a blanket exclusion for COVID, but things like fires, severe weather, mudslides, those things are also force majeure events that are covered.
Yeah, good. It's still valuable. So I'm wondering, for entrepreneurs that want to work with you, if I was to say, hey, I'm going to include this now in my package. So every client that I'm going to have from now on is going to just have insurance, and I'm going to just buy that $119 policy from you every time. And I'm just going to add that fee to my package to cover my costs. So now you're getting, 10, 20 wedding insurances from me a year. Give me a discount. Would you give us a discount? Would you give AWP a discount?
That is an interesting question in the insurance business. As an insurance agency, you are not allowed to pay a commission to a non-licensed insurance person.
I do remember that. I did learn that. Yes.
What we have done, and this has been blessed by our corporate counsel, is we do offer a marketing fee.
Okay.
So it's not based upon the amount of insurance that's purchased, but saying for every couple that you refer to us, we will pay you a marketing fee when they buy the insurance. If they buy more or less, it doesn't change the fee, but it's an incentive to planners and venues to refer business to us.
Absolutely. Well, that's the same thing. You're still getting a discount.
Right. It is a discount, but you got to be on the right side of the line. We do have
Yes.
another benefit that we have recently put together for venues. It's called our personalized application program. So if you're a venue, one of the pain points for you quite often is couples are getting married, you require insurance, and you have to go chasing them down the day before or 2 days before the wedding looking for your certificate of insurance.
Yeah.
We have a program where venues can sign up with us and they get a personalized link. So when the couple clicks on the link, it opens an application with all the venue's name pre-filled in. And when they buy the insurance, the venue is automatically emailed a copy of the certificate of
Great.
insurance so they don't have to chase them down. And it just makes
Nice.
life so much easier. And also, if the venue has a common name and a legal name, we make sure that the legal name is included on the certificate of insurance in addition to the common name. I know that's probably too technical for some people,
I
but
was
it's a
just
good
about to
thing.
say, isn't that interesting? You know how to do that now because you're a lawyer and you know all these
Right.
things. So this is where it's almost like it was meant to be. You say, oh, well, I'm never going to do what I want to do. But then in the end, you take all of your experience and you make it into this perfect thing. And then you're like, maybe this is what I was supposed to be doing all along.
It could be. It did, right. I mean, going to law school taught me to read a contract. So when I get that 78-page insurance policy, I can actually sit down and read it. It might take a couple of times because they're boring, but you can sit down and read them.
Totally. I love that because I do feel as I get older and as my career changes and it progresses that I feel like every little thing that I've done in the past kind of comes full circle around. And I'm like, oh, wow, that if I didn't do that, I would never know this now. So,
So true. And you don't know where it's going to kick in or where it's going to be a benefit, but we are, a culmination of all of our life experiences leading up to now.
this is interesting. So one of our planners just commented and said that it's interesting to find out what you're saying because their contracts require their couples to secure wedding insurance.
I'm seeing
So
that with more planners now, and
yeah,
the planners are saying, look, in order to hire me, you have to buy a $10,000 or $15,000 policy because they don't want to be the bad guy if something goes wrong.
right, exactly. How about virtual or hybrid events included in your coverage? So I'm wondering how to elaborate on that, but virtual and hybrid, meaning I guess some people are there, a few people are there, and most everyone else is away.
Well, that's an interesting question. I have not had that before. The way our contracts are worded on the cancellation is if you cancel, you lose deposits. You lose deposits, you can be refunded your deposit. And that's could be the food, the flowers, it could go all the way through to the honeymoon. If you have paid a virtual company to stream a portion of your wedding and you have to cancel, as long as it's not related to COVID, that very well could be covered.
Okay.
It's why is that any different than the limo that you're not going to be hiring
Yeah.
any longer?
Right. No, that's perfect. David, do you offer liability insurance for officiants? That's one of our questions, but I think that's where you can elaborate.
Unfortunately, that's a question I get very often. It's called vendor day of liability insurance. We do not currently offer that. It's in the works. Hopefully by the end of this year, we'll have it. Right now, we concentrate on liability and cancellation for the couple because that's what's most common. But there are officiants, there's some photographers, there's DJs, people that might only do one or two weddings a year. And if they're doing it in a backyard, they don't need insurance. But all of a sudden, when they're walking into a hotel or a country club property, the venue is saying you need insurance. They need to get what's called day of vendor event insurance. We do not offer it. It is available out there. It's not inexpensive, but they can get it out there.
It's probably, I mean, if you're going to have to provide those day of policies more than twice for the cost, it's easier just to get your own liability policy for your business. Yeah.
It's called a BOP policy, BOP. I believe it stands for business owners policy, and it is relatively inexpensive. And you can get it from your State Farm or your Allstate or your Travelers agent very easy. It's just a small business insurance policy.
Good to know. See, this is so educational.
This is fun.
And I honestly, I knew as soon as I started thinking about this, I was like, not only would it be kind of interesting, but I guarantee I'm going to leave with a page full of notes, and I am. So
perfect.
Well, I want to encourage our members and anybody that's watching tonight to reach out to you because this applies to everybody. It applies to every discipline for these entrepreneurs. And I think that we'll have a lot more questions as the year goes on because
That'd be great. And,
it's
if anyone
changing.
wants to email me, they're free to email me. It's David at eWed Insurance. And look at that. And one of the hallmarks of my business is, customer relations, customer support, customer service, and happy to talk to email with anyone for their questions.
Yeah, no, this is going to be great. Actually, I'm thinking there was a wedding. I'm just now remembering this. There was a wedding that happened at Bro Vineyards, which is a gorgeous vineyard out in Loudoun County. And bless their hearts, I remember this. They had just put down an absolutely beautiful wood floor. I was the wedding planner for the very first client that got to have their wedding on the brand new wood floor. They do require a deposit from the clients. Every couple that gets married there, I think they have to pay like a $2,000 security deposit, but you get that all back, if
Right.
nothing happens. We have the wedding, everything's off without a hitch, totally fine. We send the couple away, all the guests are gone, and I'm still there with the venue manager, the caterers, and my assistant. We're cleaning everything up, packing up their personal items. And the venue manager is standing over the floor on the dance floor. And she's like, kind of just staring at the floor, walking back and forth. And I said, and she was there for a while. She was there for like 10 minutes. And I finally looked at her. I said, what is going on? And she goes, come here. And I'm like, oh my God.
No.
And I go over there and I look, and sure enough, right in this centrally located area where the dance floor was, like right in front of where the band was that night, are all of these tiny little star-shaped divots like dug into this brand new floor, and there's thousands of them. And I'm looking, and after a few minutes I said, you ever had the high heel pad pop off your high heel and all that's left is that metal spike?
Me personally, no, but I know what you're talking about.
Whatever, I'm sure you wore high heels. And as soon as I said that, she's like, oh, and we both, because we're women, and we're like, that's exact, and it was the exact shape of what would be the metal
one stiletto. Somebody's
some
Manolos took care of it.
And probably she didn't know it. And halfway through and she's doing this, so you can see the pattern. Here she is, all night long, bounce, 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 bounce. So the whole wood floor had to be redone. Came into the tune of about 25,000, something like that. The $2,000 deposit that the client
doesn't
paid,
cover it.
Oh, that was eaten right away. But then they had to go back and say, we're going to have to charge you for these damages. It's on the contract. So that client, I think they went back and forth for a year with the venue, ended up settling on like half of it. But
what's interesting with liability, not only would she have been off the hook, but she put down a $2,000 security deposit. There's only $1,000 deductible for damage with the wedding with liability. See? She would have gotten 1,000 of the 2,000 back and had to pay nothing else.
See, that's a poster child for this. It's like, oh my God. Oh, and I felt bad for the venue manager. She didn't want to have to tell the client that. She felt terrible, but she knows that this brand, they just put it in the week before. So I was like, yep, I know.
That's interesting though. That's going to be not going to work because that venue makes that claim after every single party. You can't have a wood floor, people dancing on it. I would have argued wear and tear, but I'll take my lawyer hat off.
I have no idea how. I mean, maybe that's why they ended up only paying half of it, because the people back and forth were like, you both don't have a lot to stand on or something. I don't know. But either way,
no pun intended.
This is a horrible, horrible thing to even have to worry about when all you want to do is celebrate and have a wonderful time with your family. You don't even want to think about that stuff. So,
agreed.
I mean, $119. It's like, why are we even having this conversation? I'm almost going to look at my clients and be like, just do it. Just see this. I don't even want to argue with them. I'm just going to include it. I'm just going to include it in my packages.
Right. We have a lot of venues that will buy it on behalf of the couple, and they'll say, click here. It's $119. We charge you for it. If you don't want to check here, that's fine. You can go buy it on your own, but you need to buy it. And by the way, it's probably going to cost you more than $119.
Right.
And it's, do you really want to add one more thing to your to-do list?
One more question they were wondering, is there a difference between a retainer and a deposit? This is more on your lawyer side of this.
No, I can understand. It's a question I get often. Cancellation insurance reimburses you for loss of deposit. The word deposit is a generic term. It means money you've paid out. What I also get from a lot of people is, what about money I've paid out prior to buying the insurance? That is also covered with this little caveat. As long as when you buy the insurance, you're not aware of anything that would give rise to a loss, it will cover deposits retroactively.
Like a pre-existing condition,
Exactly.
which you don't have. Okay. That's good to know. So even the ones that have already paid everything and they're a week out from their wedding, they can still buy this and they still get the full benefit.
Correct. Most
That's good to
people
know.
buy the insurance when they put down the venue deposit.
Yeah.
Because that's their first big deposit, and realizing that that's when you have money at risk. You know, things do go wrong, and it doesn't have to be, you know, a day before the wedding. Something can go wrong 6 months before the wedding. You know, if the venue, you know, if you put a venue deposit down 9 months before and 8 months before the wedding, the venue burns down, you've lost that deposit.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there are venues that have closed over this year. And I think that the people that had been booked with them are probably out of luck.
Right.
So
There was a good example at the beginning of last year, at the beginning of 2020. There was a venue called Noah's. They were in, I believe, 13 states, and they had 27 or more venues across 13 different states, and they went bankrupt. This was pre-COVID. They went out of business. We had a couple of brides that had weddings booked at Noah's and called us up. Our insurance company settled those claims in less than 2 weeks and saying, your venue went bankrupt. Here's your check. Go find another venue.
wow.
And they were very happy.
Wow. This has been awesome for me and for
Thank you.
our viewers. Actually, no, I mean, like you should see, you can't see what I see, but we got little hearts
Right.
and little likes and thumbs
Oh,
up and
good.
everything all over here.
Well, thank you, everyone who's watching.
Yeah, well, you know, because we always like our cocktails and we like our networking, but the biggest thing we want to have for our association is educational opportunities, making sure that we are always being a good reference for these kind of things, helping these entrepreneurs grow their business and also knowing what they need to do next to be more, just be better. I did not just almost say be more better, to be better. So it's been a long day.
You know, right. But it's a matter of, look, most of us got into this business because there's a passion for it.
Yeah.
And the passion doesn't have to be about making money. The passion can be about bringing joy to people. I used to say when I was a wedding planner, there was nothing better than to watch the faces of the wedding couple when they first walked into the room and they had just gotten married and the candles were lit and the lighting was right. And they would just smile eye to eye and just take it all in and to see their expression. Yes, exactly.
I do. I still feel that way every time. You know, I just joked with somebody. I can't say exactly, but I'm pretty sure I'm over 500 weddings and I still cry like often at my weddings. Still, father-daughter dances, the toasts, the ones where the mom says, you know, something and starts crying and the dog. I'm in the back, like, I know this isn't my first time, but I just can't.
No, right. And it's nice. You know what? A piece of advice I used to always give my wedding couples is at some point during the night, it's all going to be a blur the next day.
Yeah, I say that too. I'm like, just stop and take it all in.
Take 5 minutes and just go stand in a corner, not on the dance floor. Go stand in a corner where you can see the whole room and just take a mental picture of it. Because 20 years from now, everything is a blur. But if you take 3 minutes to go stand just off to the side and look at everything, you'll implant that picture forever.
Oh my God, I did. I used to say that a lot, and I did with multiple. I'd say, this is mental picture, and we'd joke. But then as the planning, I'd be like, mental picture, here is the day of the wedding, right? And I'd see them all, you know, doing a million things. And I'd across the room, I'd go, and I'd see them, they'd go, oh yeah. And they'd get away from whoever was talking to them and they would go off and do it. And you could see them like, you know, laughing and giggling. And I'm going, and they go, you know, from the other side of the room. So I think that probably was the only minutes that they do remember from their weddings is those few minutes where they're going, hey, look, everybody's having a good time.
Exactly. It's invaluable.
Okay, I have one more question though. I just realized this. I'm intrigued how you're a wedding planner. You've done this for years. most of us are women. How did people perceive you as a wedding planner? Did you get a lot of people that thought you're going to be excellent at this because you're a man, or did they question you because you're a man? Just curious.
You know what? It's my business partner was a gentleman by the name of Colin Cowie. So we had a big name in the business, and he was the creative side of the business, and I was the business side of the business. So I didn't really get questioned. He and I worked together very well, and it was like sort of a yin and a yang that worked. You know, he's got his business side and I've got my creative side, and it meshed very well. But we did, fabulous weddings all over the world, and people didn't really have that many questions. And you know what? In business, the advice I would give to someone is if you speak with authority,
Right.
if you come across and don't be wishy-washy, if you have an opinion, know what you're saying and say it, and be convinced or know that what you're saying is the right thing and the best solution. People, they're looking to you for advice. They're not looking
Right.
to you for, well, do you want to do A or B? I'm not sure what you should do. You got into the business with a passion. If someone has a question for you, answer it with passion.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Well, I could tell that right away with you, because as soon as you started talking, I was like, oh, he does know what he's talking about. Absolutely. I was just
Thank
curious
you.
because I'm thinking, sitting there going, so many times it's all the women in the family that are involved in all these little details, and the guys usually going, just give me some beers and tell me where to be, and so to have a guy that actually wants to care about the details is so intriguing to me. I'm like immediately attracted. I'm like, oh, that'd be cool. I'd want to work with a guy, because I'm
But
going,
that's
you want to
changed.
do this?
We've seen, and I don't want to gender stereotype because
No,
it's not right, but
but it is a little.
it is a little. In the past, from a wedding couple, whether it's a guy and a girl, two girls or two guys, there's always been one that's more interested than the
Right.
other.
Yeah,
That norm is being flattened out.
it is. Yes.
The less interested person, it used to be, was, the stereotype, the less interested person is they're writing the check and the other person's doing the planning. What we're seeing with couples all over now is they're both involved in it. They really both have an interest. One might be more interested in the food and one might be more interested in the flowers, but they're each taking portions of the wedding and they're saying, I want to own this portion of it. I want to, I want to curate the music that the DJ is going to play.
Right.
And then another one says, I want to make sure that, these little soft touches are all done. But
Yeah.
and you can't say who's going to pick who, because it goes in every direction.
No, I agree with you 100%. I would love to work with you one day, because I bet you'd bring kind of just a fresh perspective. You'd probably say things in a different way I'd never heard, or I'd be like, oh, that's a good way to think about that. Like, it'd be kind of fun, because I see a lot of the women that I work with, we all kind of do things similarly, which is fine. But already what you've said to me, and like I said, I've taken notes and stuff, it's a fresh perspective from a man's point of view as a wedding planner. It's just not what I
I
see all
mean,
the time. I love it.
I am a what do they call it? The white horn rhinoceros or something.
Yeah.
Male wedding planners, straight male wedding planners, don't exist very well. But
Yeah.
you know what? I love everyone that I work with in the business, and it's been a pleasure. And it's like, not in a million years would I've ever thought about going into this business. I mean, when I came out of school, wedding planning, event planning didn't exist.
Yeah.
But I said, you know what? This is when I met Colin, and he and I started to work together and became business partners. I said, wow, this is interesting. This is something that's fun. It's creative. Plus it's entrepreneurial, and you get to,
You get
do
to
a
go to
lot of
parties every
fun
weekend.
things. You get to go to parties every weekend. Colin used to say, I have the greatest job. I get to spend other people's money, making them very happy.
Well, this has all been awesome, and I appreciate it. And I'm still watching people's comments or laughing at us. But I see, this is good. This is all stuff that people like to talk about. And we started this, David, just so you know, is AWP always had networking events, and we thrive off of not just AWP's networking events, but all the ones that we get invited to have chance to sit in front of somebody or stand. You'd get in those circles, everybody's got a glass of wine, and we're all just kind of going, so what you been up to? What you been up to? And you get inspiration, you get to hear funny stories, and you just get that interaction. And we haven't had that now for a whole
I know,
year.
I miss that.
So this is our chance, even though we're not talking to all of our people, they're right here. I've got them on the phone, they're talking to us. So this is our networking event, and it's casual. There's no formalities. It's just, we're talking, we're learning something, we're laughing, we're sharing stories, and we're getting a little social interaction. And so I
Which is fun.
appreciate you being with us so much tonight.
It's been absolutely my pleasure.
Thank you. This has been a really good one. I think this has been informational, fun. And so just thank you for your time. We'd love to get you more involved with AWP for more future events. And I want to make sure that we share your information to our members so that they can reach out to you and start forming partnerships. So
that would be great.
All right. Well, we're going to fake cheers one more time and send everybody out tonight.
Cheers.
And I hope everybody has an absolutely wonderful evening. Make sure you tune in tomorrow, Friday. We're going to have one more Cocktails and Conversations, 5 p.m. See you guys all then.
Thank you. Bye-bye.